Hey, how's it going, music fam? It's Oz here. I'm coming to you with a vlog post today about apologies. I recently read a book that's called When Sorry Isn't Enough. It's by Gary Chapman and Jennifer Thomas. Gary Chapman penned the 5 Love Languages books and he had that love lab is what they called it. It was a research lab where they studied the actions of couples for 20 to 30 years. Same couples would come in on a regular basis and they just observed their interactions, and one of the most important interactions then that they began to study was how couples say sorry and how they apologize. So they narrowed it down to a 5-step or 5 different languages of apologies. I like to think that we all have our strongest language and the language that matters most to us, and as well our partners, as well our friends. So I think that it can be really valuable to just touch on all 5 as you move into having restorative conversations with our partners. So check it out. The first step that they outline is this idea of expressing regret and remorse. Expressing regret and remorse means that you feel bad that they feel bad, and that you can acknowledge that they don't feel good based on what happened. And by saying things like, I can see that you're upset, I know that you were hurt, and that kind of ties into the second step, which is taking responsibility. So when we take responsibility, we can say, I acknowledge the role that I played in our interaction that led to you feeling upset. So it's this one kind of catapults right into 2. 1 being, again, the regret or remorse, and then 2, the responsibility. Step number 3 is this idea of making restitution. It's the idea that you want to do something to make up for the fact that you see this person as hurt. We see flowers, we see cards, are very common things, but oftentimes, and this can connect to the love languages by doing something that speaks to your partner's love language. That can be really essential as well. But oftentimes an apology is an action that in and of itself is a very great gesture of a way of making restitution. This idea of taking responsibility, expressing your regret and your remorse can be a really powerful way of connecting. The next way that we're going to look at is step 4, which is where you're repenting. The repenting is kind of this, it's like a churchy idea. I know it can be a little scary at first, but this is the idea that instead of focusing and staying turned toward the conflict and toward the thing that separates us, what that means is that we are going to turn our focus towards a solution. And I know that when there's a conflict, people on both sides are hurt by it. So it's going to require both of us to have these restorative conversations, perhaps even to go through these 5 steps. But this idea of repenting is one where we will come up with a plan of action that we can commit to say that if we find ourselves in this situation again, this is what we commit to doing for the sake of our relationship. Because if your relationship is just going to be the deduction of all the anger that you project at one another, then you won't be left with much of a relationship. So this idea of repenting can be really powerful because it allows you to build new growth and new trust into a relationship that has pain and scars from a past. The last step that they talk about, step number 5, is this asking for forgiveness. Now, asking for forgiveness is kind of a tricky one because it really requires us to be vulnerable. One way that one can say this is just say, I hope that you can find forgiveness for what I did and what happened based on, the trust that we have and the commitment that we have to making these changes within our relationship. So let me run you back down the 5 steps. We have remorse, regret, taking responsibility, making restitution through an action, then repenting, which is turning toward new solutions and making commitments to those, and then asking for forgiveness as the last one. So hopefully these can help you in some way bring more constructive language to restorative practices, especially as we're all trapped in the house over the last what seems like forever. Until next time, we'll see you. Peace.